Terry, hey, congratulations on your new film, Lucky Star.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You know what? I love these type of dramatic films, and I saw this during a film festival, and watched it again because you have a much more wider release this time around.
Yeah, we have a wider theatrical release starting this weekend, actually starting on Friday.
Yeah, it is a terrific film, but tell us what initially drew you that you want to be part of Lucky Star and how you came on board for it.
So Lucky Star came across my table a few years back, I believe in 2022. My agent had called me and told me that the casting director invited me to a table read, which for Lucky Star, which I was had some time to do, and I had a great time at the table read. I was able to connect with Gillian McKercher, the writer director of the picture, and the table read was going through the Canadian Film Center. Gillian had put it through a Netflix accelerator program. And during that table read, I was able to have a quick, a short conversation with Jillian and talk about the film and sort of get her cinema and film sensibilities. And we connected there. About a year and a half later, I got a call from my agent again, and they had procured funding for it, which displayed an incredible amount of dedication and commitment and follow through. And at that point, I was very happy to jump on board, and we filmed it in the winter of 2023.
Now, of course, you believe in this project so much that you also have EP credit on this. Am I correct?
Yes.
Tell us what about the story that drew you that you wanted to basically help this through its fruition.
Jillian's writing, the written word is where I start with work all the time, and it was I saw something in her writing that resonated, and having read a lot of scripts over the last couple of decades, this one came across and resonated with me because I was born and raised in Alberta. It spoke to the Asian diaspora in the prairies. And especially a more specific voice of a second, third, generation Asians. And, it was something that I hadn't read anything like it before. It was it's an intimate family drama that, tells the story of a specific region. Calgary, where we shot it, is a character of the film. The cold and the isolation in the winter plays a part of it. And the visual narrative lends to what these characters are going through. And the fact that Lucky, the lead, he's a broken character who, you thread this fine line of wanting to keep the audience's empathy while he's going through these life moments and doing some really not great things for his kids and family. So that was a conversation that Jillian and I had early on too, and I just found that incredibly compelling.
Now, I love this film is because it was telling a different type of Asian story because it goes against the stereotypes of that we are model citizens in its own way. Can you talk about breaking that down and that we are actually just like everybody else?
Lucky Star, I would say, is the antithesis of Crazy Rich Asians, and these stereotypes, they're stereotypes for a reason, but, through art and through, the powerful medium of cinema, I think we're able to tell different stories, which is what makes this film, for me personally, resonate and so important. Culturally, you know, obviously we're all, every ethnicity is much more and beyond their stereotypes. But, for me growing up as a kid in Alberta, being picked on for and by, using Asian cultural icons to pick on a kid is does does damage in a way where, for me, I didn't feel like I had a lot of cultural icons growing up. So, in a way, I had to just sort of become my own. And, there was constant identity crisis in that. But again, as you said, we're much more than these stereotypes, and we are like everybody else, especially in these places where, we're marginalized, and especially for me during, the 80s and the 90s in Calgary, Alberta, as a visible minority, there are just things that, if you don't experience that, great, you're lucky, but it's a different thing. It's something that is, that you experience on a daily basis.
So, how did you get into the mental capacity of playing Lucky? Because he is so conflicted from start to finish.
How did I get into the mental capacity of Lucky? Working closely with Gillian McKercher, the writer director, uh, bringing a lot of my own life experience. This is a fully fleshed out character. This is why it's was such a compelling piece for me to want to engage with. We're able to sit with Lucky and his family over the course of 90 minutes and really feel like, you're seeing an inside of what this family is going through. And it can get pretty raw at times, but speaking to the specificity of the context and the environment, it's still very relatable, unfortunately, in a lot of ways. It speaks to, I think, what is happening in society these days a lot. And it also speaks to, various aspects of our culture, like gambling, like shame, mental health issues in males, toxic male behavior as well, and parenting behavior, and it also speaks to generational trauma.
When you played a character like Lucky here, do you look at him as a basically a character with mental illness and addiction problems, or do you see it as a like a desperation situation that he is trying to do his best or what he thinks is the right thing?
I don't go into any project or any character with judgment, first and foremost. Um, Reading Lucky, he's often trying to do his best, but his best isn't always the right thing. He falls prey and victim to his past behaviors and to his generational trauma. What makes it sad is that he's acutely aware of what he's doing. The awareness of all these characters is on the level, but that's what makes it such a compelling watch too. This is a family going through strife, and they all have secrets, and they all inform each other in various ways, and that's a tribute to Jillian McKercher's writing. And you know it was such a pleasure just to collaborate with her and Olivia Chang, who plays Noelle, Lucky's wife in the picture, as well as the wonderful young actors playing Lucky's daughters as well, Connie Mew and Summer Lee.
Now, tell us about your preparation because obviously gambling addiction is one of the things that is foremost behind this film. Can you tell us about the preparation of playing poker in this case?
I have personal experience with gambling. I played a lot of poker myself, just home games and whatnot. So I was very familiar with the game. Uh, Jillian and I made a point not to glamorize. I mean, Jillian, not only not to glamorize, Jillian made it a point not to glamorize the gambling aspect of it, but we also didn't want to make the gambling addiction, even though it is a big theme of the movie, at the forefront, and not romanticizing it or glamorizing it. Poker, like any gambling game, blackjack, mahjong, these games are, not glamorous, especially growing up in Calgary or any suburban area. They're held in people's homes, in the basement, in janitors' closets, and in wherever you can get a game going. Um, Lucky comes from a past where he probably started gambling very young. He was talented enough in the sense where it brought him back and kept him coming back because it always brought him hope, and that's something that he's desperately seeking throughout the film, because he falls prey to a tax scam, which is another, theme of the film.
Absolutely, absolutely. Terry, I've seen you in so many projects, and I like how you interact with others in this project and other projects in the past. How do you develop like a chemistry because a film like this for Lucky Star, it's all about relationships or the anti-relationships, burning bridges with whether you're with your family and including friends in this case. How do you develop that chemistry or anti-chemistry with others in the film?
Well, the beginning with Jillian McKercher, upon our first conversation, you just get you try and find similar sensibilities, when going into a project. Olivia Chang, who plays Lucky's wife, is a friend of mine. I've known her for 15 years, so that was a beautiful serendipitous, connection. Where we didn't have to get to know each other, so we felt comfortable, and there was trust already in there, especially with a lot of the scenes that get very raw. Um, the relationship with Andrew Fung, who plays Lucky's friend. I met Andrew for the first time. I was a fan of his work before, but you know, when you go into these projects, any film or television project, you kind of want to be authentic and on your best behavior, because you're working with these people over long hours, and potentially with intimate subject matter. So, hopefully as an artist, you always want to be open to collaboration, and everyone in the project, we knew what we were there for, so there was a lot of trust and a lot of just single-mindedness, and especially working in extreme conditions like the middle of winter in Alberta, Canada, where it gets down to -30, -40 degree weather, is not easy. So you've got to have people who have the temperament of understanding, okay, this is what we're doing now. It's we're done at this time, and let's do the best that we can while we're here, and everybody be on the same page. And that really came down from Jillian as well, and the producers. They provided an incredible environment. They were very knowledgeable and skillful in the productions. Jillian herself is a cinephile, so she knew what she wanted, and it was a pleasure to work and come to work every day, knowing what we were doing and what we were going for.
Now, you mentioned previously about this being filmed in Canada. So Canada is your backyard. What makes Canada such a great film production area?
We have the best crews in the world. We have the best environments, the best locations, and the best talent.
Well said in this case. And of course, Lucky Star is an Asian film, but of course, even though we are trying to, push more Asian films out there, of course, I'm biased myself. I would like to see more. Tell us about, pushing these narratives out there much more to the mainstream.
We can keep pushing, as much as we want. I mean, that fight will never stop. We have to communicate as artists. We're just trying to communicate. Whether we find our audience or not, is to be determined. But this is a part of the game as well, where after you're done, and the film's in the can, there's another milestone to hit, which is the release and the distribution of it. So these business models are shifting. We're in an incredible time in the industry right now, where there's a very fluid, shifting ground, daily, and people are struggling to survive. So independent film is a slog. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've done before. Getting audiences into this theater to watch independent film and these stories is the hardest thing we can do. That's why outlets like yourself and any way that we can get the word out, and word of mouth will help, and really to drive these stories to more audiences.
Now, if independent films is such a, di have its own certain difficulties, like pushing a boulder, why do you enjoy doing independent projects? Because obviously you have done bigger TV and film projects in the past.
Smaller independent projects need to be told because they need to find an audience, because they have a voice. When you do bigger projects, you have less freedom. smaller indie projects, you have much more free creative freedom. It can speak to more marginalized communities, depending on the subject matter. And at the end of the day, I love doing all kinds of different productions. I've been very fortunate enough to work on big and small. Uh, there's no judgment. I love telling stories, and that's what it's about at the end of the day. Um, there are other elements that come into play after all that's said and done, but at the end of the day, it's about telling stories.
That is true, and you're such a great storyteller. So, Terry, tell us what's next after this.
Right now, I have a series called Wild Cards that's out and streaming on various platforms. We've been officially picked up for seasons 3 and 4. Lucky Star now is being released theatrically in a wide release over the next month to celebrate Asian Heritage Month. And I'll be popping up in places here and there. Just keep an eye out.
Well said. And let me wrap it up with one last question, because one of the things that I do have to admire, and it's showcased in the film, and I could see it through the Zoom interview, is your tattoos, and you're not shy about that, and it seems like you have a lot. Can you talk about that?
I do. I've been collecting tattoos since I was 18. So, you know, gosh, over 30 years now worth. Tattoos for me have always been a way to express myself. And when I started as a young actor in my early 20s, I just had this innate sense that, I wanted to commit to the industry, and I had to sacrifice a lot of time. I had to miss a lot of birthdays. I had to miss a lot of anniversaries and weddings because of production schedules and whatnot, if I was lucky enough to work. And as I kept working throughout the years, I kept getting more tattoos, and, was asked early on by an agent, when are you going to stop getting tattoos, Terry? And I really ignorantly quit back and said, well, Johnny Depp has tattoos. And this agent told me, well, you're not Johnny Depp, which, yes, agreed. But, it was just always something that I felt like if the tattoos were too distracting in a way, then I had to work harder. I had to, work harder at script analysis, character, I had to work harder than the next guy. And I guess if the industry had stopped booking me, or if I just kept playing the gangster or one specific type of role, that would have pivoted me. But I've been lucky enough and grateful enough to continue and play a diversity of roles, and that's what it's all about for me. I want to, let my work speak for itself. I think as an Asian person growing up in a place like Alberta, I've been discriminated all my life because of the way that I look. So add on tattoos, it's another reason, it's a part of who I am, I guess. And at the end of the day, we just have to be who we are.
Certainly is. I mean, and I'm just curious, you have a favorite, and how many do you know how many you have?
Oh, I've lost count a long time ago. And for different reasons, it's sort of just a mixed bag. Some of them I like better than the others, but they all are indicative of a time in my life that I can look back on, whether fondly or not.
Well, your tattoo certainly tells another different story, because that's a story of you. So, Terry, thank you very much for speaking to us about Lucky Star. And everyone could check it out now, and here in the rest of North America can check it out on VOD. Thank you very much, Terry.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.